Wright and welcome to another programme of Out and About. Now recently I was in London City and here's a taste of what occurred me there. First of all, can you introduce yourself to our 1,000,001 listeners out there, please?
Yeah. My name is Freddie Brown. Freddie Brown, and I come from Sion Lane, which is near Hounslow. All right. I'm 85 years of age.
My God, Freddie, that's fairly good now. A lot of water under the bridge. Now, Freddie, can you tell our listeners out there where exactly we're doing this interview today?
We're doing it in Trafalgar Square.
A very historic place here in London. And Freddie, yourself now, you're here for a particular reason, especially in 2 days' time. There's going to be a special commemoration here in London. Tell us about this, please.
Oh, it's absolutely marvellous. It's a parade that fills the whole of Whitehall up. The whole of the Whitehall up. There's every unit that took part in the last war. There's bus drivers, policemen, Gurkhas, Red Cross, Army, Navy, Air Force. There's the chaps that took part in the Arctic convoy. There's Gurkhas, you name it, and every unit is paraded there in the square. We line up in Horse Guards Parade, and then we march from there through the arch to Whitehall, where we stand there. Now, we have a service that used to take 3/4 of an hour, but the Queen realised it's too much for the old legs now. The old legs are getting, so she kindly cut it down to 20 minutes. So we have a 20 minutes parade, and then we march right the way past the cenotaph. We give a cracking eyes left. We march right way round again to Horse Guards Parade where we meet. And we haven't seen a lot of our old army mates for some time, so we have a good old chinwag, a laugh and a joke, but we only talk, it's funny, but we're old soldiers, we only talk about the good things. We don't talk about the sad things.
And why is that, Fred? Why?
Well, we want to forget it.
Water under the bridge.
We want to forget all about it, you see. We don't remember about it. I mean, we get the chance to go free trips to any of the battlefields, but if we go, it'll bring back memories. You think, well, so-and-so got killed there, so-and-so got killed. We don't want that. We want to forget about it, you see. It's not funny. None of it is good in war. None of it good at all. You can't say it's good in war. And then they'll say, I went right the way through the desert, Alamein, that, and then it was in the front line at Tunisia, which I'm proud to say, when the Italians and the Jerrys packed in, and they came out in their thousands. It was a lovely sight. Up went the white flags, and we really celebrated. And then we was taken from there to what they call Salerno, the beaches in Italy. Went right the way up Italy, the Volturno River, that was the death trap. The Garigliano River, that was the death trap. And then we went on to Casino, where we lost thousands of men. That monastery, every time we looked up we saw that monastery, we cursed it. And then when the idiots, the British Army, agreed to bomb it, or the Yanks did, it gave the German forces all the stone that they wanted to make real good machine gun positions, and it was hell. So we went from there.
And Fred, you would have been in the thick of the fighting back then. I mean, this was back in the mid-1940s, the early 1940s, as the Allies were making their way, the big heave up through Italy to try and get into Germany over the Alps.
No, this was in what you call it, 42.
1942.
Yeah, because, and then as I say, we managed, the Poles, they managed to, in the end, to take the monastery, and then from there, they done the landing on Anzio. And instead of advancing, which they could have done straight away, they could have taken Rome easily in 2 days. The American general held back, and as I say, the lads was cut in there for 4 months, and that's where I got knocked out, and I got taken prisoner, and I was taken the prisoner to Germany, to Museburg, prisoner of war camp called Museburg. I stuck in there. I'd seen that I was a bloody nuisance to the Germans, a gang of us. They sent us to another camp that was inside a military training area. But all around the area, for 80 miles, was military ground. And they said that if you get caught in there on military ground, you're a spy and you get shot on the spot. So, of course, it wasn't worth it because within a few weeks they said the war would be over. But what the Germans did then, they knew that the Russians were coming, And if they released us, we'd take up arms and fight again. They marched us for 3 weeks solid, hardly without a stop, hardly any food or water. We just had to keep going because the guards who were guarding us, they didn't want to get caught by the Russians, so they took us, and that's what they called the Death March. And then when we got to just outside Regensburg, we got released by the Yanks, and then I managed to get home. But that's my whole war history.
That was unbelievable. So literally, you lasted from the beginning of the campaigns in North Africa. You said you were involved in Dunkirk as well. So Fred, you lived through the entire war experience from 39-40 right up to the tail end 45.
That's what you was paid for, wasn't it? That's what the taxpayer was paying you for. The taxpayer was paying you to fight, wasn't he? And no way were we going to let anybody take this country we could help. And we did. I mean, you may not believe this, but we had 2 machine guns, Vickers machine guns, to defend 12 miles of beach after waiting for them to invade. All right. We had 2 boxes of ammunition. We could have just fired those guns for exactly 1 minute, and they'd have been useless. And all we had each was 5 rounds of ammunition.
This was on the coast of England, Fred, after Dunkirk, after you'd come back from Dunkirk.
Yeah. We come all the way from the Wash, right the way down from the Wash, different positions, right the way to Dover. But the whole point was we had 5 rounds of ammunition each. And we knew it that if he invaded, that within 10 minutes, we'd either be dead or taken prisoner.
You'd not only be fighting on the beaches, you'd be fighting on the beaches with baseball bats maybe, or whatever you had to hand, or cricket bats or whatever. But this, I mean, you from there on you moved on to North Africa. What was the fighting like in North Africa? I mean, you talked about El Alamein, Tobruk. You also mentioned to me earlier about Montgomery being in charge. What was it like?
Well, the whole point was that before Monty came, we practically hardly had anything. The weapons weren't all that good. The anti-tank, the artillery was cut down to 5 rounds a gun. We was cut down to 2 belts of ammunition, all right? But when Monty took over, it was totally different. He raised our morale. He sorted out the no-good officers, and that pleased us. And as I say, we got bloody good tanks, real good tanks. We got 6-pounder anti-tank guns, and we was actually told that we could fire off as much ammunition as we wanted. Before, we weren't allowed to fire a group of more than 25. But when Monty came out there and the ammunition we was getting at, we could even fire a group of 10. And everything we had plenty of petrol and that sort of thing. But as I say, he was good, he raised our morale, but if we'd had that equipment before, we could have knocked the jelly out long before El Alamein.
You were also saying, Fred, the friend Monty came in, he laid down strict instructions with the officers that treat these guys, they're not stupid, treat them well, you know.
Thank you. Just how he put it. He said, before, no disrespect, but a lot of the lads who joined the army before, they couldn't get work. They were peacetime soldiers, you see. But a lot of the blokes during the war, they were solicitors. And they had good jobs in Civil Street, but they got called up, and they were brain, they had common sense. But once Monty put us right, he said, now, if we have to retire, which we're not going to, when you retire back, I'll make sure you're covered with tanks and artillery. Well, before when we retired, you retire back and you find you was on your time. You had no anti-tank guns around you. You had nothing. And I mean, to send 15 tanks in at once, it was a miracle. But Monty Alamein, I mean, that gun barrage, it nearly deafened us. Honestly, it did. I remember the night of that barrage, the whole sky lit up. It was up over the moon. We couldn't believe it, because before, when we went in, we only had a barrage for about 5 or 6 minutes. But that bloody barrage we had at Alamein, it was too. And then we found out that there was 200 tanks in front of us.
You couldn't believe it, Fred?
No, we just could not believe it. I mean, our morale, it went right up. It did, only it went, and even a little thing like mail. Monty insisted that the mail came through, and the lads are getting mail. I never got any mail because I had nobody at all. I mean, all my brothers are in the service and that. But things were absolutely different, you know. I mean, even to the case of when you fired off a belt of machine gun ammunition, you had to refill the belt with your thumbs. You had to save the boxes. But we was getting belts of ammunition that was already loaded. It was already loaded, yeah, because it was already filled. And when you finished, you threw the belt away and you threw the box away, because it's no good. And you just picked up fresh ones. Oh no, even our guns, I mean, our guns used to fight 38,000 yards. But when we got the new ones, they went right up here to 50 yards. But what a difference, it shook Jerry Rotten, didn't it?
Wow.
It shook, I mean, when he came for us before, the Panzers was happy as hell because they knew we couldn't stop them. But when he started coming up against the 6-pounders and the 17-pounders, that was a different story altogether. And he took the brunt of it, yeah.
Oh, in other words, the tide turned massively. But I mean, Fred, maybe
it turned right round. You know, our petrol cans, the British petrol cans, you've been honest, they were absolutely stupid. They was about 18 inches wide, right, by about, say square, and they were plain, shiny tin. So if you was loading them up in the desert and the sun caught them, they glistened, it told you where you was, didn't it? They had a little thin wire handle on the top. Absolutely used to cut your fingers to hell with it. And when you went to load, when the lad went to load a lorry or a tank, it would splash everywhere. But the Jerry petrol cans, they was a marvel. They were solid. They had two handles on the top that you could grab one side, I could grab the other, and two of you could came on between. And when you went to fill a lorry or a tank, in a little tube that came up that sucked in the air, see? And it didn't splash. So the first thing we did after a battle, the first thing the lads went to look for was jerry cans.
In other words, to save their hands for future work efforts.
Well, interesting, anything else except getting their flipping hands on those jerry cans. And it must have been about, what, 5 months after when about, I forget how many thousand it was, but a few thousand, we still caught, although they're made in England, we still called them jerry cans. But that was absolutely fabulous.
That's why the jerry can is literally called a jerry can, because it was the jury's can, or the nickname for the Nazi forces, the juries. Wow, that's amazing, Fred. That's a new one for me now. Even.
I always called him a Jerry. I mean, you always said, well, where if you went up, well, where's Jerry today? I always called him Jerry, and he always called us Tommy. He said we called him Krauts.
Yeah, and this would have been from the old World War I now, the slang that was used back in World War I. And just, Fred, getting back now, I mean, you victory in El Alamein. From there you moved on to Sicily. You were involved in the taking of
Sicily.
Oh,
we
went straight over to Italy, right? Okay, and you were in Salerno. Now, I mean, you were talking about the fighting to me earlier on. I mean, and you talk about in a matter of 1 or 2 minutes. But I mean, this was heavy machine gun fighting. I mean, hill to hill fighting, if you want to call it that. There, I mean, guys were dying right beside you. Now, without getting too, because it's deep, a lot of deep, difficult memories there. How bad was it? Just a small taste.
Absolutely disgusting, because if you was up in the mountains, everything was slippery. The water was pouring down. There's rocks and boulders, and the gun itself weighed 50 pounds. Well, you've got that full equipment, and the gun will fit on your shoulder. So you've only got one hand to steady yourself. See, the tripod was 56, so you've got a leg that side, 3 legs, leg that side and one down here. You've got to carry that as well, you see, and you've got lads are going down with smashed fingers, smashed knees and all sorts. And it was that, it was that rotten that loads of lads were going down, broken legs, arms, smashed shoulders, because you just slipped, and it was that rocky and that, You see, there's two comparisons. The desert was flat, you see, but Italy was different.
Italy was a rocky terrain, it was a completely different battlefield.
And he could build smashing gun positions because there's loads of rocks and dirty big tree trunks about. He could build real 45 positions, you see. And some of the places we was in, even the mules couldn't get up with ammunition. Honestly, even the mules couldn't make it, and they were damn good. They were damn good, but. As I say, it was hard, it was tough, but you just thought, well, you've got to get on with it, mate, haven't you? You know, bloody arguing, is it? You can't say to an officer, I'm not going to do it. That was it. You just took it natural. You just thought, well, if I'm going to stop one, I'm going to stop one. I only hope it comes quick. I don't want to go out without a blooming leg missing or an arm missing. As long as I go right out, I don't mind. And that was your attitude.
And Fred, I just wanted to ask you as well, I mean, what was the nearest you ever came to death on the battlefield yourself? How close was it?
Oh, I was bloody dead lucky, once or twice. The nearest I ever came to it was being a sergeant. I was in the OP, observation post. Now, under no circumstances were you allowed to leave that trench in case Jerry attacked. And I never left it. I was scared to because it was a court-martial offence. But this evening, I'll never forget it, a bloke brilliant and said, "Hey, Sarge, come on over and have a smoke." No, I smoke a pot. "Oh, come on," he said, "it's dead quiet, nothing's happening." I thought, all right then, well, believe you me, I got out and I went from here to there, and all of a sudden, wham, blimey, I got blown into his trench, dust, muck, stink of cordite, branches, all sorts coming down. God, blimey, when I looked, my trench was 5 foot deep. Was that deep?
Now, so it was a bomb blast, a shell had...
I couldn't find my equipment. That had gone. Tommy gun had gone the lot. But I don't know what it was that made me go, and I got into there, and I thought, well, I'll be unlucky. And another time I was sitting on this 15 underweight, and on the back there's a piece that was about 6 inches high, 5 foot long, a bit of a backrest, not much, you know. I was leaning against it. There's a little chameleon on this twig, messing about. I get up and have a look at him. I just got up to him and sudden wham. An 88, that's a dirty big shell, came over and exploded. I got blown about 8 yards, burnt the back of my shirt. When I got up and turned around, there's a lump about that big out of this piece of wood where my back would be. So if I'd have sat there, that would have been me lot. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I wouldn't be here today talking to you over 60 years later. Wow, that is unbelievable.
Another stupid thing was, when we was training for the landing in Italy, you know, from the landing craft, this officer kept on saying, naval officer, "You won't get your boots wet, you won't get your boots wet, I promise you that." But we didn't. There's no muck flying about, was there? Dead easy. When it came actually to the actual landing, and the boat went in, stopped the ramp, we jumped out, full equipment of that, and he dropped us in 12 foot of flaming water. But when you've got the lads who've got that amount of equipment, you go down pretty heavy, don't you? And they were tumbling down, just literally falling down. And it's just by luck that one young sailor, bless him, I'd like to meet this kid, he ran out with a rope and he leaned right back and he held it. And the lads were managing, being clear water, to open and find the rope, and we helped them in, and they managed to struggle to shore, with this rope. And it's, as I say, nobody got drowned, but one young lad on the beach, he turned a ruddy bring gun round at this officer on the bridge. He was going to ruddy shoot him. He would have done it.
Well, believe it, I mean, especially 12 foot of water and surviving with full kit on your back. But I mean, only for that sailor, a lot of guys would have gone down, would have drowned.
We would have, it's only that kid, I say, I'd like to meet that kid, I'd buy him anything he wanted. He ran out with that rope, and we managed to grab it, we managed to put it, and all our packs was full of water, of course, you know, and we just hit the beach and we choked. If Jerry had had machine guns on that beach, we wouldn't have stood a chance. We just couldn't get up, we were choking. But anyway, we came round, and you know, but I still like to shoot that bloody naval officer. I would honestly, yeah.
And Fred, you also talked about being taken prisoner as well. Now, how did it happen that you were taken prisoner? When did this happen? Was this in the middle of Italy or whatever, the taking of Rome or what?
No, what happened was, we had 2 machine guns in this house and that, and the Herman Goring division came for us. They're all blonde, special Goring troops, and they're all doped up to the eyeballs. Well, they came for us, but we managed to cut them down something rotten. They came for us again, and we did the same. It all went peace and quiet, and then somebody shouted out Paras, at J Paras, you know. Somebody shouted out tanks, and next thing I know, I woke up, and I had a part of the house across my ankles, and I was laying there like that. And when I woke up, there's this Jerry sergeant, parachute sergeant, he's sitting at the side of me smoking. He's got his smizer. Oh, he said, "You're a prisoner, Tommy." I said, "Not for long." Oh, he said, "No," he said, "You won't get far with those feet, mate." He said, "You won't get far for that." He said, "Anyway," he said, "You're the lucky one." So I'm the lucky one. He said, "Well, you're a prisoner." He said, "You'll be alive tomorrow." He said, "I might not be."
Paul Wright here, and you're listening to Out and About. And today we're talking with World War II veteran Freddie Brown, when I recently rendezvoused with him in Trafalgar Square in London. Now, thus far in the programme, Freddie has been talking about his war experiences fighting the Nazis in Tunisia and also Italy. Here's what Freddie had to say about the ordinary German soldiers that he encountered during those difficult fighting days.
It's unbelievable, all right? 1 minute you're doing your utmost to kill him. That's all you want to do is to kill him, all right? Now, you take some prisoner, all right? You bring them back. Now, if you've got plenty of tea or sugar, coffee, ciggies, you give them a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, you give them a ciggy, all right? If you've got any beans or anything like, give them that right now. You sit there and you chat for 20 minutes. You both swap photographs, you chat about your job, all right? Now, if I'd have dressed that Jerry up in a civvy suit, and you'd dressed me up in a civvy suit, you'd have swear blind we'd been mates for years.
Wow.
I had nothing against him at all. Nothing. I didn't hate him, I didn't defend him. Funny, every one of our lads and the Germans was the same. We didn't hate him at all. After 20 minutes, you were chatting, you knew all about his family, you knew what his job was, about his mama and his papa, you knew all about that. And you were chatting as ordinary fellas. He didn't want to blasted war. We didn't want the flaming war, but it's human nature, it's dead funny. We didn't want to kill each other, you know. And it's so when you finish, you say, well, I've got to send you back, you know. You'd shake hands, you know, like that, you know, cheerio, thank you, and they shove her back. I mean, when I was taken prisoner, they took us back to this cave, and they took us on top of this wet stone. Well, we were beat, we were whacked, and we got on that stone at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we slept till 4 o'clock the next day. Yeah. Then they woke us up, and they gave us some coffee and that, and they said, right, we've got to take you back, further back. We're just going to set off, and this sergeant spoke to this officer, and this officer laughed. Oh, yeah. And the next thing we know, we had two Jerry paratroopers, one at the front, one at the back, with smizers. So I said one day, I said, what's the idea of this? He said, well, you've got to go past the woods that the Herman Gorn division's in, and you cut them up to hell the other 2 days ago. They don't like us, so they might come out, you know, to get rid of you. We give them you extra guard. So we got walking back, and all of a sudden out of these woods came these blonde-headed kids, we called the kids, you know. And these two Jerrys, they come that side of us, so they were there, and we was here. And we stopped, and these two Germans, that bloke spoke to them, a bit nasty, and they moved back, and we carried on, yeah. And they took us back to this farmhouse. We sat in there, and just sitting there normally, and a little German officer came up. He was chatting away all about Windsor. He sat down with us. You wouldn't have thought he was a bloody German.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? Here you are you're doing your damnedest to kill this guy and to kill his comrades, and the next minute you're talking about the place down the road, whatever, in your own home city.
The one thing you do get out of the war, or you'll never get it anywhere else, is comradeship. I mean, when you're in the forces, you get plenty. That chap, he's a comrade, he's a brother. It's pushed into you. He's a regimental, the badge means everything, all right? You're in the regiment, and you are brothers, and you do everything that you can for that bloke at the side of you. You don't let him down. You don't turn around and run away. You stop there with him. And as I say, that is it. You could go in the billet, you could leave your money, your wallet, anything on the bed. And when you come back, it was still there. Nobody touched it. Wow. Comradeship, brotherhood was brought into the army.
So it's really band of brother mentality.
Not I mean this stupid Yankee stuff. Oh, sorry, love. I don't mean this stupid Yankee. I mean these American films. They're a load of old cars. Don't take any notice of them.
Well, like what a film, like for example, this film Saving Private Ryan. What did you think of that now yourself?
It's a load of rubbish. No, I'm not.
Well, I'm glad somebody else thought that as well, because I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was cock and bull anyway.
I won't repeat it on there, but some of the things the American did, you would never credit it. Honestly, you wouldn't. They was literally Well, if you was going up the front line, 3 units, say the Aussies, British, French, or anybody on either side of you, when you went up, if you had any of them, you didn't mind, because you knew they'd do their utmost to take that flipping hill, and they wouldn't let you down. But if you had the ranks on the right or on your left, you were damn careful. Oh yeah, you knew that, 9 out of 10 they were going to run. They run in one hill we was on, we went up with them, we took it, we held it, hello ding dong, and then we told they hadn't even started to take the bloody hill. 66 men we lost.
Oh wow, Shane, wow. Anyway, that's another day's. But thanks be to God, they're gone to a better place now. When all the men that were involved on both sides of the fence. And Fred, I mean, we're here today. We're in Trafalgar Square. It's beautiful. The sun is shining down now in mid-November, and you've got this array of gorgeous, beautiful medals in front, lined up on your chest here. Now, a lot of people, such as myself, even would approach you. What kind of questions would they ask about your medals and about your World War II involvement?
Well, the first thing they say to you, was, what's that one for? And what's that one for? And what's that one for, you see? That's all that, where did you get this? Where did you get that? And they were interested, but if you had the time, I would love to tell you what went on in the prison camp, because you would not believe it.
Really?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it, yeah. Oh, the way we mucked the jerrys about was something rotten. Oh, we did, yeah. We used to call it JB. We had a blackboard in the hut, and everything you did to annoy the jerrys, you got points.
It sounds like being at school now, except this is a tiny bit more serious, if you do something, if you get caught doing something.
Yeah. The Germans could not understand the British Tommy, because you couldn't get the blighter down. The British humour was out of this world. Yeah.
And unfortunately we've run out of time in today's programme. But in the meantime, our profuse thanks to war veteran Freddie Brown for an enthralling interview. Until our next programme of Out and About, from myself, Paul Wright, bye for now.